think that was only 3 minutes. Just to give a bit of time for everybody to come in. Just God, I'm so nervous. All right. Okay. Ah. Hello, everyone. Um. Yeah. So, hello, everyone. I hope all of you are having a great day. Sorry for the massive delay. We just had a bit of backroom. What do you call it? Housekeeping, technical difficulties. What do you want to call it? But we are live now, and we have possibly the best, the best, the best guests assembled for this. We have in well, he goes by the Twitter handle in the work 2020s. Explain that for me, please.
We are in an era, right? In the woke 2020s. That's the tag name I picked for it. So this decade is very special since it, emerged. And we're going to see this carry on till the end of the decade. But it's very interesting. I've been observing a lot in politics, in media, and yeah, that's my tag name on
Yeah.
Twitter. So if you scroll through my page, you would see that.
And also check out his YouTube channel. He goes by the name The Duke. We also have uh, Chandler Chandler Remington, who is a paralegal. Yeah, and also a very unique voice in this case because we are talking about the royals. And if I'm not if I'm not mistaken, you've also starting your YouTube channel. Am I right by saying that?
I will be. I'm planning on putting a YouTube channel together with my close friend Alana, also known as Legally a Dirty Blonde. She has a podcast, but yeah, I'm Chandler Remington. I'm a paralegal, and I'm always interested in any kinds of lawsuits or legal issues. So it'll be really interesting to discuss the defamation case. I'm looking forward to that with Samantha Markle.
Yeah, and also my co-host, partner in crime, given who also has his own YouTube channel, King GDB, and let's just go on with it. So it has been if I'm not mistaken, 4 years now since these two has been in our faces every single day, non-stop, talking about the royal family, how they're being mistreated, all of those things. I'll go straight to you, Duke. When you first saw that, when you first saw all of this actually happen, what was it like?
Well, literally, I believe the day or two after that interview came out, we went on a live stream on YouTube to discuss it for I don't know, almost 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, analyzing every minute of that interview. And, and listening back to that, you might have thought I was a lunatic because I kept predicting what would happen next, right? And given would remember, it sounded quite, out of touch because I could tell when someone was lying. And Meghan Markle, after maybe the last 9 months, we've discovered a lot of embellished events she defined in that interview. And, people were convinced, of her experience back then. But now we're seeing that, she's now backtracking. Her and Harry, recently have claimed that, for example, they didn't claim racism was the reason the family distanced themselves from Harry and Meghan. Yeah, were you aware of that? Given that's what apparently they claimed that in the beginning,
hold
right?
On, hold on.
Right.
What were your actual predictions? Since you saw that, like it wasn't back then. What were your actual predictions? Because I actually want to know, like, how accurate you were.
I'm not a prophet. I'm not from the future. But everything I predicted, except for a divorce, I said there might be a divorce within the next 3 to 4 years. We will still see what would happen. But overall, I said that things will resurface and the truth will be out because the things we heard in the interview was not the whole truth. Number one, I felt she was more after media retention in terms of like Western Hollywood appeal. But when she subscribed to the royal family, she realized that she had more duties than front and center stage. And it's okay to maybe you felt um, you weren't aware of what you're walking into. So
Yeah.
that one thing I agreed with. But overall, this whole conundrum with her and Harry and going around blaming everyone. In fact, they blamed the journalists for placing racism as a reason for why they left as well, even though they insinuated that during the interview. But it's just funny how things are now being redacted. But yeah, overall, everything I predicted except for a divorce has occurred. So I'm not a prophet. I'm just saying, we can go back and we can send a link to the whole stream. Given was there, and I don't. Maybe I'm a good reader of body language. When you have several YouTubers who've broken down how they communicate, Meghan and Harry, and they acknowledge certain dynamics within each interview, proving that they were lying in certain cases. So yeah, overall, we can break it down, and then I can explain my point of view.
Now, I actually want to get, what was it? Now, Chandler, this one goes specifically to you. What was it like when you first saw Harry and Meghan? Well, when did you first see Harry and Meghan actually coming to the stage? Was it the wedding? Was it Oprah interview? When was it? Because I'm trying to get the feel of what it's like in America. Because we know what it's like in the UK here, but I want to know what it was like in America seeing these two couples.
Sure. I can't speak for everybody, but I can say from personal experience that I wasn't really aware of Harry and Meghan, and I didn't really care about them very much just because we don't really necessarily keep tabs on the royals in the US. We're more concerned with like American celebrity culture and living in LA. That's more of what you're centered in. So when they did the Oprah interview, that was probably when everything sort of first came to light and people started talking about them more in America. I'm sure that people other than me, I can't speak for all Americans, obviously. In America, we're interested and we're compelled by their story. But I didn't hear any of my friends or any of my colleagues or anything talking about them until the Oprah interview. And that was certainly controversial. There were a lot of people who were discussing it from a very sympathetic point of view, feeling that, Meghan Markle had endured so much and that she had suffered and, poor Meghan. And oh my God, did you hear about the way that the royals have treated this poor couple? And what did they say about the baby being too dark and all of that? There was a lot of stuff about that. So I would say that before that, I wasn't really aware of them. And that was sort of the point that the Oprah interview was kind of the turning point.
Okay, so you didn't know about the wedding that's gone on, etc., all of that at all?
I heard about the wedding. I just wasn't very interested in it because I don't really. I'm intrigued by the royals, but the British royal family isn't really the family that I'm very interested in. I'm more interested in the Monegasque royal family, so I don't really pay attention to what happens in the UK. Sorry, it's just like not. It's just not. It's not within my range of interest personally. So I care a lot less than most people. I would say I've seen a lot of people since then, obviously, discussing Harry and Meghan. I watched the Netflix documentary, in quotes, and I took it in and I observed it from the point of view of somebody who knows practically nothing about this couple. And I had a lot of questions, definitely. I was skeptical. But overall, they just don't interest me as much as most people. I don't find them, I know they're very controversial. I know people have a lot to say about them. I know people feel very passionately about them. And I would say that objectively, I just don't care that much about Harry and Meghan. So that's maybe why you asked me to be on this panel, because I have less interest than most people, and that's maybe not as common.
No, I personally wanted to get what it was like for Americans to actually experience all of this blow up, because there is a strong correlation that I have noticed. For some reason, the people that do support Harry and Meghan, they tend to be the people that want the monarchy to be abolished. They tend to be a individualist kind of mindset kind of people. Not that there's anything wrong with that, so to speak, but it's just more of like they see the idea of this family, in my opinion,
Right.
they see the idea of this family as being oppressive to a new progressive or a new age, if that makes any sense. So
Oh, certainly. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, I know people who are very pro Meghan. I'm actually I'm good friends with somebody who has a Sussex Squad Twitter account, and we're good friends. She was also an Amber Heard supporter, but then she kind of changed her tune, and now she's a Johnny Depp supporter. So that's been interesting. But I've noticed. I guess I follow the Depp v. Heard case, and I've noticed that there are a lot of people who support Meghan who also support Amber. And that's kind of interesting to me because I can see both sides of it. I'm neutral. I have opinions in, sort of in both camps. I see different things. So anyway, if that makes sense.
No, I completely get it. So like I completely understand why people will support her, because again, everyone feels like morally everyone feels, in my honest opinion, that the royal family represents an archaic, oppressive structure, just by them not engaging with the media, etc. All of those things, to them that's like, why would you not, like, this is happening, you should say this, you should say that. By them not doing it, they're encouraging other people to be like XYZ or right wing, as I've seen some people actually say the monarchy is right wing or imperial. Like it's
well, that means something very different in your country than in my country.
Like,
so
it's just like I've heard so many takes. So I guess what I'm trying to actually find out by even doing all this is basically, did you guys actually know that before the wedding, that they actually had a anthrax or bomb scare with Meghan Markle? I just want to put it out there, because
was this the case with the South African incident?
No,
something else?
not South African. It was reported by the Guardian that there was an investigation by Scotland Yard into the palace. That there was an investigation by Scotland Yard into the palace, and they had a quote unquote, like, they found a white substance in a racist letter that was sent, allegedly. I gotta say that, but this was what was reported by the Guardian, and also Reason, which was in the
before the wedding.
Yeah, this was I'll say 10 days before the wedding. So it was on the 12th, but it was on the 22nd of February that it was reported. And this wasn't, the reason why I brought this up is because this wasn't actually reported by Harry and Meghan. Like, no one knows about this scare, but they had it. They had the letter, it was addressed to them, and it was reported on The Guardian, but it was never spoken about ever again. So I wanted to bring that up as to whether that seems...
Do you think Harry and Meghan would miss an opportunity to bring that up? And it being, because this is still alleged, right?
Yeah.
If that was something the Guardian wrote. But Harry and Meghan would never miss this opportunity to even mention this in their documentaries. Like, come on.
That's why I'm...
If it is...
That's why I'm bringing it up. Because, no, it actually does exist. I'll post it. It in the... Right. I'll post it in the chat. In the chat box, so that you guys can actually go see. But it was actually white powder that was reported as sent, and it was treated as a hate crime, and another reputable source opined there and said that Scotland Yard declared that it wasn't harmful, basically. But this was something, in my opinion, that I thought...
A threat, basically.
Yeah, it was a
Take them.
threat. It was a threat because they actually did say that letters were actually sent to them with the powder inside. So when I found this, I was like, this is a bit strange. Like, you went through the whole Oprah interview, all of that, and this you didn't think to mention something like this.
That would have been useful on their side, but
Yeah, yeah,
it probably showed that look, it wasn't if it wasn't the journalists, the media that they dislike, or the royal family, the
powder inside.
firm, then I guess they felt it was irrelevant. There are people who hate the idea of a woman of color joining the royal family, so maybe they kind of ignored that situation.
Yeah,
Maybe, but yeah, it's interesting to bring up. The one thing I would like to make a point of before the Oprah interview, I was a fan of what they were doing, what they represented, because compared to Americans, the royal weddings, royal funerals are like Super Bowl to the Brits because they show up on a lot of channels, and we all are aware of what's going on, even if we didn't have a choice to knew about the events. So when I first heard of
Oh,
Meghan
sure, it's a
Markle,
big event.
right, you're right. When we heard of Meghan Markle, I thought she was great. I thought, oh, this is a good change. I don't really care about the royal family, but maybe this is a good look for them.
yeah. I don't care
And
about it either.
right, right. And
We're
then
from
when I
Nigeria, like
saw the
it's not
At
headlines,
least I'm not alone.
there is no
when
reason
I
for
saw
us to
the
actually care.
yeah, when I saw the headlines about how Harry and Meghan were leaving because of problems in the family, I was really in support. Like, oh, I hope they're okay. That's understandable. And then they sat down with Oprah, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this and hear their, you know, their issue. And I was completely lost for words. I was not convinced at all, and I spent the next 3 hours streaming with my friends, making complaints about every point they made because it could have been refuted one by one, and that's where my journey started as the anti Sussex squad.
I actually don't know what my co-host is saying. I actually want to hear from you, given like I have a feeling that you're anti. I have a feeling that you're anti Megan as well.
It actually started off playing the role of like, hey, benefit of the doubt, devil's advocate. Like he was actually in support of the Sussex at one point.
Uh,
He can explain that.
yeah, yeah, no, no. What, what were you saying that because I probably don't know. I probably don't know a lot about Meghan Markle, etc., etc. Like, what did you find that made you support them?
Big fan.
Were you heartbroken? I was out. Were you heartbroken? Yeah. to be quite honest, I actually personally I was actually scared that this day was gonna happen. When I saw it, I mean, I'm gonna sound like a pessimist, but when I saw it, I wasn't. No, I am because I personally I actually wasn't. I was like, this is one of those situations that's like a grenade that's gonna go off one day, because how do I say it? This is the same time before they got married. You know Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling. I think it was around that time that before they got married. Yeah, it was. I think he bought his mom a house for $2 million or whatever. Yeah, he moved to Man City and from Liverpool, and people hate him already. People already hated him because Man City were the money club and Liverpool were this big club that had a rich history, blah blah. So he moved over to them. They were like, "Oh, you just went for the money," but they hate him already. And he bought his mom a house for 2 million, 2.5 million around that time. And Phil Foden also bought his mom a house. Same thing, but the media was reporting Phil Foden as this great kid that done something great
Dr.
for his
Heinz,
mom.
Just for the American viewers and for Chandler, just to remember, Raheem Sterling is a soccer player, and he's a black, background. He's black, and the other guy you mentioned his name.
Phil Foden. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a white soccer player, and so he's saying that in comparison to how the journalists treated both of them, the black player who spent money on his mom was seen as, oh, he's overspending, or why is he living lavish? And then the white guy was like wholesome. Oh, how nice of you to spend money on your family. So he's showing that around that same time, there was this racial element in journalism where they painted, black celebrities as like very negative. And so it was almost like perfect timing to discuss, the Meghan situation. That's why people would side more with them on the racial aspect.
Double standards of treating white and black individuals who are in like the Kate and Meghan thing, the way that Kate and Meghan were portrayed in the press. They made a very big deal about that in the docu-series. The avocado, situation, avocado gate or whatever.
I mean, I didn't pay attention to that one. I just want to make that clear. I didn't actually pay attention to the Kate and Meghan situation. In fact, when I saw the wedding, I actually switched off completely onto the Oprah, because in my head I was like, I know the British press. I just know the British press. I knew they were gonna, especially with her, and especially with so much racial tensions already going on. I knew that in a way something was gonna happen. Something was going to happen, and we would never take it back. We would never take it back. That said, though, even though I understood that, going into that Oprah interview, the one thing that pissed me off the most, I understood all their claims. I actually did. It sounded real. People, and the one thing that I did not really like is the fact that a lot of people saw her as black, not mixed race. Over here, we actually know mixed race. We actually call mixed race people. We call them biracial. Well, it's not racist. It's just the reality. Now, a lot of people don't actually realize that I actually felt a lot of empathy out of all of this for Meghan Markle, because mixed race people undeniably have an identity crisis at least some point in their life. They don't actually feel like they belong. I think there was not many journalists that was even writing op-eds about it, but they all treat her as black. To me, I grew up with mixed race people, all of that. So in my head, I was thinking, this is very unique. This is a very unique situation. But I didn't think that when we get to the interview, I actually believed, I actually believed at one point, yes, somebody may have questioned the baby's color, because she's really light. She's huh? Yeah.
Mm-mm.
No, like no, no. My gripe was my main gripe was it wasn't the fact that I I felt it was realistic to actually question baby because one, she was mixed race. I actually felt that was, oh, is he gonna turn out too dark, turn out too light? I actually thought because it I think there was also
can I make one point?
quick
Even among okay,
before I forget this, because there was a story going around at the time of of two black couples giving birth to a white baby. I can't remember. I think it was around 2017, around that time.
that
Yeah,
I
like
swear that was 2012, 2013. That's an
yeah, no.
old.
I was seeing it
Oh, okay.
being brought up again, but
Right.
but the point I wanted to make was, it seems like a legitimate question to actually ask because you do get that anomaly. But anyway, go on, and then I'll go back to my
Right.
point.
Right. It's just
I do have a comment, but go on.
Go,
just I was gonna make a point about how even among black families we do the same thing. Like, oh, I wonder how he would look. Would he have his mom's hair? Would he have his dad's hair? Like in that aspect, like I was really holding on to that argument that maybe it was just in the way it was being said was, yeah. So looking now, even Harry has redacted this claim that it was racism
Spoilers.
or it was in any negative intent. So already it's been firmed that it wasn't deliberate to like insult or to mock Meghan in any way. But hey, I feel like we sorted that out now.
w- w- I'll get back to that because I do have my views on that. But
Oh,
Chandler,
sound.
what was your comment? Hello.
Sure. Well, there was
Can you?
something interesting. So I was the only white panelist,
Yeah, can't
and
hear
as
you.
somebody
I
who
don't even know.
I've
I'm having
formally
technical difficulties
studied
again
race.
here.
I was an anthropology major, and I've studied race relations. Obviously, so I'm Jewish. I can't come from that perspective of being black, but I do remember, when Obama was elected president, before he was president, everybody referred to him as mixed race. And then that changed. And then when he became president, he was the first black
Oh,
president.
okay.
And it seems like race only came into the picture when there was controversy, which is something similar to what happened with
Oh,
Meghan.
wow.
And then in addition to that, when I heard the commentary about, oh, well, like the queen or whoever brought up questions about the baby's color, I remember, so I grew up in a family where my grandmother was racist, unfortunately, and she would express that pretty openly. And I remember I had a Jewish friend who was going to marry an Indian guy who was very white passing. And my grandmother's first question was, "Oh, is he dark?" and and she was asking because she was curious about what kind of babies they would have and what the babies would look like. And I was like, "No, grandma, he's not dark." And I remember my mother and I making fun of her for that, like, "Oh, is he?" It was ridiculous. But the thing is that I've experienced that in my own life, seeing white people do that. And it's something that white people do. White people will ask those questions. And just look at what's her name? Uh, oh, something Michael, with wearing the Broadmoor pin, telling
Oh,
black diners
right,
to go back to the colonies. She told them
right.
to go back to the colonies. I mean, there is racism in the royal family that is indisputable. We have, I mean, Prince Philip was, came from a Nazi background. So this is not difficult to imagine that these people
Yeah.
would bring up race and make it an issue. It's just not difficult at all to imagine.
Now to pedal now to bring everything back because I feel like what I said is a bit too loose. Now, what I was saying with the mixed race issue was this was the main point. When she was making those claims, I thought, okay, there could be validity to it. But the point where she lost me completely was she made those claims. She caveated it with, "We have a problem." It was in the context of at least from the time, I actually understood it as the child, if they came out too dark, they're not gonna get a title. If they came out light, they are gonna get a title. That's what I took it as. So I was like, hold on, this is very
That's
damaging.
how she coined it.
I was like,
That's
this
how she
is
coined
very.
it. So I don't blame you for thinking that.
I was like, this is very damaging. I hope you put a name to this so that we can actually investigate and get this guy out. That's what I was hoping for. And she was like, there's like, I think Oprah even led with it and was like, who did this, you know? And she was like, it'll be too damaging to them. I was like, huh? This is coming from somebody who has actually faced institutional racism. And it is one of these type of racism that is covert. It's not going to be easy to prove. You need an email where they call you the N-word or even joked around your race or something to even have a semblance of a case. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's a big hurdle. So if you're going to make that claim, you know who it is. For me, it was, no, you need to put a name to it. You can't come on this stage and say all those things with your reputation, with who we like, you know, with the and then you don't give a name. You just at least say what was that guy? Andrew? At least say Andrew. That's your scapegoat. He'll be done. That's it. I'll believe it. I wouldn't question myself or guess or think I'm going crazy by believing, by believing you're crazy for making it up. Because for 3 years now, I felt crazy saying this girl is making it up. You don't go through a racial attack being told by your husband that, you know, that your child is not going to be in the line for your throne if they came out too dark. You're not going to go through something like that. And then you're like, I'm not going to name who it is because it gave me the impression of I'm too graceful to do that, to throw them under the bus. I'm just going to spare them that. So I was like,
but to make a broad accusation like that, it kind of implicates everybody. And the problem with it is it's a half measure. You know, it's just making a broad, and it's not going the whole way. And it's like creating a rumor without having any evidence. You need evidence to substantiate your claim. There's no reason to come out with it unless there's evidence to back it up. And so I don't think she intended to create an evidentiary claim. I think she intended to create a rumor, like gossip. And I don't respect the gossip element of it. It's very gossipy. It's not coming out with evidence. It's not trying to make, and so the statement that it makes about the entire family, unfortunately, is like that could apply to anyone and everyone. And so now it calls the entire institution into question. But I'm curious if what you see. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree because I think you've contextualized a lot of how I felt at the time, which I felt very angry because I felt like someone was using an experience I would live through and more likely to live through. In fact, lived through. I felt someone was using that as leverage. You know, so I was like, if you know, like in my head, I was like, you need to put your money where their mouth is.
Wait, can I ask? At the moment after you listened to the interview, were you convinced that she was covering up for someone, or were you convinced she was deceptive about something?
Didn't even consider that. Honestly, I did not consider whether she was. I personally thought at the time it was more to do with Harry than Meg. I actually thought it was more to do with he knew who it was and he just felt, I know you are hurt by this, but let's not do that. Let's take this way. And I'm going to spearhead those whole thing because I don't want you to, you know, do this. So I gave that kind of leeway because I can picture a scenario in which a black and white couple or a mixed race couple sorry, not well, white mixed race couple. You know what I'm trying to say. I can picture
An interracial
interracial
couple.
interracial couple. I can picture a scenario in which one of you is going to talk about this subject and be like, okay, but this is my family here. Like, let's not go all the way. Let's just let's just infer and say, because we are hurt by this, but let's not. So I could have seen that scenario happening. But this is the reason why I kind of sympathized at the time as well. But I was really conflicted, that I was fighting myself, that sometimes when they brought up some facts and I was like, okay, I can't argue against that, but let me shut up. But I would at the same time feel angry because a black woman, if Harry was dating a black woman, like a full black, there is no way that she wouldn't, if that situation actually happened and Harry said, let's keep it under the butt, let's not name any names, she would have been like, nope, I'm not listening to that. Like, that ain't happening. My child is not gonna get a film because they are. It's not gonna be in line because they are this, too dark or something like that. No, I felt there would have been a bit more push, but when it's now the mixed race, it's a bit different because.
Can I ask you another question? Do you still think that that's still the actual case, that someone did make comments that were racist?
Nah, I mean,
Meghan's child. Could you explain what microaggression means for people who don't know? Very too gray area. Mm. In passing, yeah, yeah.
Less than a year before they came out with the whole Oprah thing. So they might have been motivation because they saw the path.
The racial element. Mm.
Of a media personality and realizing that being a royal comes with more responsibility outside of the public eye than in the public eye. And I think them coming out at that time, like 10 months after George Floyd, was a smart move, if nothing else.
I mean,
Cunning.
Like that's. The timing and everything.
Calculated.
No, it's possible, but that's the more. Put it this way, my feelings aside at the time, because I did not speak out vocally when I first heard when I first saw the Oprah interview. I actually didn't. I actually kept myself to myself. It was when I started looking into it that's when I started learning about Samantha Markle and all of those things. And and to be quite fair, the only thing that made me really disbelieve everything, at least think she's lying about the entire claim, because my position is they're both lying about the entire claim. Like, it just didn't happen. Like she had me until I believe Samantha, who is now suing her, actually. I'm sorry, but if you're telling
Samantha
the truth,
Markle?
why would you? I think she alleged a couple of things in the lawsuit. Like, for example, you would know more about this, Chandler, but I think she alleged a couple of things, like how she grew up as an only child, and Samantha basically was like, no. No, you didn't. We actually took care of you a lot. Like, we were in your life. You had this type of life. So it was like peeling open the drapes or to Meghan's closet, basically. I don't know. Opening up a kind of worms that I did not expect, because it was after that interview, and I think my friend, I first heard, so basically after Amber Heard finished, after the Amber Heard trial, I saw my friend's YouTube channel that done a filing, like said out of nowhere, Meghan Markle is getting sued by Samantha Markle. And she was like, I don't know why this is happening, but what she's suing on, he basically said he doesn't know how successful it's gonna be, but it's wild that she is saying that, you know, she is that she has always taken care of her, and she didn't change her surname like this for this reason, etc. And when I started seeing those inconsistencies, that's when I started questioning her story, because I was like, if you can lie about these things, you know, the limits is endless, it's boundless. So I gave her so much benefit of doubt to a fault, if I'm being honest with you, because I probably should have been on the rooftop shouting from day one, because I had my doubts, basically. But yeah, it's just insane. Especially it's like
You mentioned.
I actually think
something.
Samantha Markle's claims are really dubious, and I don't know how successful she's going to be with this
Wait,
lawsuit.
hold up. Okay. Hold that. Why do you think they're dubious?
Well, for a number of reasons. I think that, first of all, I think that there are very few claims that Samantha Markle is able to make that actually cross into the threshold of defamation. I think that it's going to be very difficult for her to prove damages, because she's gone out and publicly spoken about Meghan. And because she's done that, and because there's a public perception of her, the experiences that she's had as a result that she claims damages for, she cannot definitively trace them necessarily to Meghan's statements. I also think that the way that she tries to refute Meghan's claims in the lawsuit is additionally dubious. There are a number of points that she goes over that, based on linguistic interpretations of certain claims that Meghan made, it's a really open perception. Like, for example, Meghan said that she never really had a relationship with Samantha and her other family members. Okay, that's something that I can say about family members of mine. Family members that I spent time with as a child, family members that I went over to their house for a holiday, because we didn't really interact very much and we weren't very close. And they didn't really know me personally, in the sense that, you know, maybe they went to my graduation and maybe they supported me, but we didn't really talk. They didn't really know who I really was. You know, we weren't close in that way. So to say she didn't have a relationship with those family members, it might speak to feeling like they aren't really a part of her life. And so that's a claim that she just makes multiple claims that I think are going to be very difficult to refute.
Yeah, I mean, but what do you think about the main reason why I actually took it on is not, I mean, I understand that's the lead. She's paralegal. She's a lawyer. So she basically.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm a paralegal.
She's not a lawyer. She's not a lawyer. She's not a lawyer. Okay, but
I'm an aspiring lawyer.
But your mind, you're looking about it in a legal sense. I think there is, I mean, unless there's a way to prove that Samantha is lying, I think, because Meghan did actually say...
No, that's not what this is about. That's not what that's about. It's actually, Samantha is the claimant. She's the plaintiff. Yeah. And so it's not about proving that Samantha is lying. It's about proving that Meghan is lying. Meghan does not have the burden of proof. Samantha has the burden of proof. No, that's what happens in a case like this.
I completely understand that. But I'm saying, outside the legal scenario, like in terms of me believing that Meghan is lying and Samantha is telling the truth, in terms of, because the reason why I'm saying that is because of Samantha's account and saying in the lawsuit that we had this, we had that, we had this, it's making me think to Meghan's claims whether this scenario even occurred. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So yes, the burden of
Which scenario are you talking
okay. So
about?
the scenario.
Which scenario is being called in
Okay,
question?
so the scenario of the baby's color even happening, like the conversation. The reason why I say that is, well, it's even confirmed now, but it was always okay. Well, you never. It was me going back to my initial thought of, well, you never actually said who did it. So it could have been, if it was a porter, for example, a cleaner, or someone like that said, oh, yeah, what if that baby turns black? Or what if that baby is too light? If it was someone like that, then you can say, oh, she's just a cleaner. Fire her. But if it was someone of actual rank, of actual importance, then it becomes a different story. So the reason why
okay, that's fair. So you're going back to that because I think that claim in the Oprah interview is a polarizing claim, and I think that that's something that we're all discussing at length and extensively because it is something that calls into question. You have to ask yourself, so where did this claim come from? Can it be substantiated? Is it just a rumor? Yeah. Is it coming from Meghan? Is it coming from Harry? Who said it? And are they able to speak more on it? How do we feel about it? Is it factual? Is it something that we believe? Or do we think that they're saying this to create a certain perception? And based on how you feel about the royal family, you might have a different opinion. So as an American, maybe Americans are a little bit more neutral, but I've heard both sides. I've heard some people say, that sounds terribly racist. I can't believe the royal family would do that. I've also heard, oh, she's just saying that, because now all of a sudden she's black. Like, she wasn't black before, she was mixed and she never thought of herself as black, but now she is, and she's using that, sort of weaponizing that against the royal family. I mean, I've heard both sides.
No, I completely understand that. What I'm trying to say, okay, I'll just cut to the chase. The main point is, when she made those claims, and the fact that I had Samantha Markle say, actually, you lied about these claims about me. So my thinking was, okay, she must have lied about some of the claims that she made in regards to the royal family. I gotta consider.
So why do you believe Samantha Markle completely? Because I actually see potential there for. I mean, I've never watched an interview with her, to be fair. I don't know very much about her. I have read just the lawsuit, but to play devil's advocate, some might say that this is a person who has been hounded by the press, who has been offered cash, who has been offered money to talk about her sister, to take a certain stance.
Fair point.
She might feel a certain way. So there isn't, it's not like there's no motivation for her to conflate things, to be dishonest, or I mean, even if Samantha Markle is being honest, I don't know if her motivations can be called into question.
Absolutely,
we can look at that. Maybe she's being completely honest, but the thing is, she didn't have to talk to the press. She chose to.
Absolutely fair. No, that's a fair retort. That's a fair retort. The reason why, I mean, to be quite honest, like, the reason why I'm even like, it's not necessarily that I believe Samantha Markle 100%. At least at the time.
Okay.
At least at the time. It was just what she was alleging at the time. This is before Spare, by the way. So at the time, what she was alleging was enough for me to question a little bit, because it was new, and I was like, hold on. So if she's saying this, then all the people on YouTube that I've been watching, etc., that were bringing out all these news, it might have some credibility, like
I see what you mean. That's fair.
So
I have questions about Meghan's credibility in a lot of ways. I don't think that Meghan's been honest about everything. I think that she's been caught in lies. I've seen that. That's been clear. Anybody who says that she's completely 100% honest, that Meghan has never told a lie, is delusional. Yeah. It's been very clear that she has lied about things, and there are things in Samantha's defamation case that I think are legitimate, and I do think she can substantiate certain elements of her claims, just not all of them at this time.
Like the claims. Okay, how do I put this?
But I see what you mean. You're saying that you heard Samantha Markle's claims, you realized that some of them resonated with you, and you thought to yourself, well, maybe this thing that I've been questioning about the Oprah interview, I'm kind of leaning towards Meghan's lying about this. You know, like you're seeing somebody else coming out and showing her being untruthful. That's fair.
Yeah, and also the bullying allegations as well. There were so many things that did make me take a stronger stance to actually believing, yeah, she's not actually being
Okay.
forthcoming. And again, is for me is the naming thing. It's just put a name on it. If anyone has been racially abused, I'm pretty sure. I don't know about you two. I don't know about you, Chandler, but for me myself, I've always went straight to actually prosecute. I've always had. Some people might argue, oh, they're not that confident, or is the royal family they have a shadow mafia that was ready to take them out. I'm like, no, no, come on, like let's be.
Wait, back up, back up. Wait, what is this that we're talking? I'm trying to understand. Like, go back a little
Basically,
bit. I'm trying to
I've had
understand what you're
some
talking about.
conversations with Success Squad, for example, and they were saying things like
Okay.
they can't name the person because the royal family is so powerful that they would kill her immediately. And in my head,
Oh, come on.
yeah, and in my head, I was like, oh, okay, but let's be real. If that was a genuine fear by them, they wouldn't be going.
And they would never have done the
They would
Oprah
be
interview
going- yeah,
in
they
the
would be
first
going
place.
to-
Exactly.
interview.
If they were willing to kill her,
Yeah. Yeah.
Over a vague claim of somebody maybe asking how dark the baby would be when it was born. I mean, come on, that's
Yeah, like no,
preposterous.
no, but
This is I'm sure they're getting that. They think that because of Diana. I'm sure these people believe that Diana was also killed by the royals in a conspiracy, and that they had like
they say there
everything
was a
set up, and
correlation.
I don't
They
know.
say there was a correlation,
Hmm.
but
And I don't know,
when
but that's ridiculous.
believe me, I felt angry and vindicated when Spare dropped because, and I think I never saw the interview coming. If I'm being honest with you, I never saw Harry didn't even have to even pedal back. If I'm being honest, he could just stuck by it. But to see him actually say that it was unconscious bias, that they were not racist, it was just unconscious bias. I was like, I know you're lying. Now I know you're lying because there is not.
So you sat by your wife and you let her say that in the first place, and you didn't correct her and you didn't amend her statement, but then now you're completely contradicting her. So how are we supposed to believe the two of you, your version of events? Why would we believe your version of events? You've contradicted yourself completely.
I think she was pregnant. I think she was. Oh, flipping! I can't remember. I bet. Yeah, I bet he was big. I think so. I bet he was big. I don't believe that. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that. A lot of people have spoken to sort of the power dynamic between the two of them in the relationship, and how he's being cuckolded by her or whatever, that he's being pussy whipped, like that, it's whatever.
I
Like,
think those were
I mean,
unfair.
and honestly, like, I don't not see it. I mean, she does have a very um bullheaded kind of approach to things, and her personality is such that he definitely is, takes the backseat a little bit in the relationship. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If it works for them, it works for them. But no, I agree. I see that she has definitely, you know, taken the reins in the majority of instances. So I'm really curious about the book. I mean,
I haven't read the book.
go on. I want to hear more about what you think. I want to hear your commentary.
I haven't read the book. I haven't bothered. I haven't bothered at all. Like, I knew it was going to be, for one, I knew it was going to be, what we saw is like, I knew it was going to be crazy. I just knew it was going to be like the marketing side and all of that and everything that they've written so far, they've got to remain relevant. They need, like, they're not under the royal family anymore. They didn't get their way with the royal family. So I knew there was going to be some outlandish claims in there, and I was already checked out from day one. So, look, I wasn't going to, yes. I was only interested in the interview portion because I don't think this was in the book. And that is very clever because they didn't insert the racial implication, so to speak, the unconscious bias in the book. So it was a press thing. Like, I've watched other people that have read the book and they never mentioned it. Like, they didn't say, oh, this is actually in there. He mentioned a fight with his brother or all those things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that was even more far-fetched because I was like, this doesn't even sound...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of, you know, the future queen or duchess of the country.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, okay, so you said a lot because there was that fight scene that, God, I don't know, fight scene, I'm calling it a fight scene, but
The fight scene.
But the reason why I said it was far-fetched is because there was something that he said that, because he let it slip that Kate was being bullied by Meghan, but he said, but what Harry was technically saying was basically, I hope I'm not butchering it, but he was basically saying that you are listening to the British press too much, basically.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that was Meghan's problem, is she was focused too much on...
Not, are you there? I think we lost him.
Yeah,
we lost him.
I can't hear him.
Okay. Flipping heck. I think we lost him there. All right.
Well, until maybe he'll buffer back in,
Yeah.
but until then, I did have I did hear a couple of things about the book,
Oh, did you read it though?
and I didn't read it, but I did read excerpts and I did hear excerpts from it that were particularly striking to me. So maybe I'm just, you know, I might be taking things out of context a little bit, but I had actually kind of a little bit of sympathy for Harry when I watched the docuseries. And there was one particular thing. So as a Jewish person, the Nazi costume, that's always been a big fucking problem. I have to say it. And when he did the docuseries, he made this statement that he was very remorseful about it, that it was a childish folly, that, I don't remember, he might have been like 21 or something when he did that. And that afterwards he met with a rabbi and a Holocaust survivor. Okay, well that's something, like
Yeah.
it was a terrible thing to do. It was despicable, but I can be a little forgiving of him for that. Then he goes and writes the book. And then he makes this big point about how it wasn't his choice to wear the costume. It was actually Kate and William who bullied him into wearing it, like they held a gun to his head or something. And that made me completely lose all of my sympathy for him, because if you're talking about making claims of racism against the royal family, look in the mirror and look at what you have personally done. If he was really remorseful, if it really mattered to him, if he really cared about how that choice affected the Jewish community. I mean, and even, and it's not just Jewish people, because the Nazis didn't just target Jewish people. They also targeted Black people. They targeted Romanis. They targeted the disabled, homosexuals, and anybody who didn't fit into society at that time. Yeah. So the idea of him wearing this Nazi costume, I'm sorry, that was a really big screw up. And the fact that he kept making excuses for it after
and he was
had
talking about accountability as well. He's talking about accountability as well.
Exactly. Pot meet kettle. I'm sorry, but it's just like you're marrying a mixed race woman and you're going to have children together, and think about the way that is perceived, and to come out in the book and then kind of retract that. It's like, well, this isn't the first time that we've seen Meghan and Harry make contradictory statements.
Yeah.
About things that have to do with race. And it's just, that was a really big problem for me personally. That made me kind of lose some of my sympathy for him. Actually, almost all of it, practically. I thought that was really stupid and a really bad excuse. It's like, oh, well, then just, why didn't you take the swastika off? Or, I mean, come on. Just, no. I don't buy that.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, this is a different race. Like, you guys, the Jewish community. So I don't, I mean, you can kind of understand more or less. Let's say if they claimed like the royal family, actually, you know what, I think you would believe that, actually, if they claimed that the royal family were all wearing Nazi costumes and they were uncomfortable. I think you would believe something like that.
Wait, what do you mean?
No, I was basically trying to say, I was trying to go back to the point of me not believing their claims and try to put it in your perspective, which was, if they were to have made claims like I
see what you mean.
Like the Queen wearing Nazi costumes in
sure,
in our spare time, or to go to bed, or to order everyone around, like.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a situation where you would have believed them, and also welcome back, given. But
sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But I wanted to go back to this topic of racism, and this is the last part.
Hey, before you say that, I just want to say this. I am tired of this whole racism thing.
I was about to
it's never gonna be defeated. Let's leave this. Let's not beat a dead horse, okay? There's always gonna be intrinsic differences between people, and people are going to feel closer to people they feel affinity to, whether that is people they relate to in terms of personality, whether that's people they relate to in terms of color of skin. There's always going to be that. It's natural, it's nature. Let's accept it. Let's move on. Let's not try and every little microaggression is a problem. Let's move on. We're going to live better, happier lives if we just move through life, appreciating the people we appreciate and not focusing on the negative people. It's that simple, guys. But people want to complicate things. And anyway,
no, I completely get it, and I completely get it. And the issue, I believe you said, is microaggressions. I think they have extrapolated.
Oh, doctor,
you're having a microphone problem.
Your sound is
again.
Yeah, your sound is a bit sketchy. Now? It sounds very staticky.
How about now? Is it all right? Is it all right?
No, it's not all right at all. It's absolutely the opposite of all right.
It's horrendous.
Okay, right.
It sounds like you went to a blender.
All right,
No. You gotta cut it. You gotta cut it.
Okay.
There you go.
You gotta use a different mic or something.
Okay. Is it better now? Can you hear me now?
That's a lot better. Yeah.
Okay. So.
Room sound.
Okay. So all right. So as I was saying, it flipping neck. because covert racism, I think the problem is with microaggressions, because microaggressions is so separate to covert racism. Like, microaggressions is something that is yet to happen, but you just want to mitigate it before it happens. Like, it's just, to me, it's insane. However, covert racism does actually exist.
It does, but to focus on it is just asinine. It won't get us anywhere. We can't call out every single person we feel like has negative vibes or is giving us negative feelings. Who cares? Move on with your life. You've got things to do. No. If you're stuck focusing on things like there's little microaggressions towards me, you're really not focusing on what you're supposed to be doing. Because if you're focused on what you're doing, you're not going to even notice those little things. You're going to be focusing on people who appreciate you and winning with those people.
I will push back a bit. I will push back a bit, though. Bad vibes. I will push back a bit because let's say that you are in a workplace, for example.
Yes.
I think this is where I think those conversations should actually take precedent. And if you're outside the workplace, it has to be more of the N-word being used against you, or really obvious. Because if you were to always, because you don't, let's be honest.
But the workplace protects you from that, because there's in policy there is certain statements that say you can't discriminate, you can't make people feel uncomfortable in the workplace. So the workplace is meant to protect you from that. So in the workplace, fair enough.
That's exactly my point.
But again, still hard to prove. If someone's just giving you a bad look, then like how do you substantiate?
That's exactly my point. In a scenario outside the workplace, if you are outside, if you are in public, it has to be overt. Like, I'm sorry, it has to be overt, because for one, you're not gonna kill the problem overnight. But if someone is actually racially targeting you, that can actually lead to death. I think that's a lot easier to prove. But if it's just covert, it's not gonna go to that level. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like if it's just covert, little micro things, that it's one of those situations where you're gonna be like, okay, well, you're a coward for not even being open about who you are. So
Exactly.
So I'm just gonna disregard you and put you to one side. Whereas juxtaposed to like somebody who is saying the N-word, this and that, at least you got that backing to turn around and be like, what? Like, this is not okay, or something like that, and then you can take it further. That's outside, but in the work context, I think you should, in terms of, because this is institutional racism, this is covert racism, but I think bringing that out,
as long as they're being cordial, they're being professional. That's what matters. They don't have to sit there and be your best friend. If they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to talk to you. But as long as they're being cordial and professional, that's all that matters. That's it.
Yep.
There's no that's it.
No, I completely agree, because I've seen so many TikToks. I mean, come on, I've seen the TikTok where what's that? No. I know you know
this is the problem with the West. Now listen to me. Listen, this is the problem with the West, yeah? We've gotten so comfortable living our great lives with minimal problems that the problems we now look at are the smallest things. Like, you have to look and turn around and look and say, look, we're in a privileged spot compared to the rest of the world. We have achieved more than a lot of countries in the world, and we have progressed more than a lot of countries in the world. For us to focus on the minutia of, he said it this way, and I didn't feel that it came from a place of love and care, is just ridiculous. Let's move on. We've got bigger fish to fry.
No, I completely agree with that. I completely understand, and I agree with where you're coming from. It's just, how do I put it? I've seen the point. Okay, I see your point, because I have seen, what's her name? I forgot. Was it Drew Barrymore or one of the actors? I don't know. She just went out frolicking in the rain or something like that, and that was deemed racist.
This is crazy, because look, for people who always say we want to be progressive, we want to move forward, we want to change the world and make it a better place for everyone, for us to keep focusing and bringing these things up all the fucking time, sorry for the cursing, all the time, it gets to a point where it's like, how can you move forward if you keep bringing back old stuff? It's like being in a relationship with someone who keeps bringing up the one thing you did wrong, and they keep bringing that up every single fight. You can never progress. If they forgave you, they forgave you. You move forward. You don't bring it up. But if you keep bringing it up, it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem because eventually you're gonna find there's not gonna be a place to move forward because we're gonna find out all the problems are just gonna keep mounting and mounting and mounting. There's no solving anything because we find new problems to make bigger problems than they actually are.
Actually, in that
Exactly, given. I completely agree. I'm in addition to being a paralegal, I'm also about to be in training to be a mediator, and my general strategy, I think, in life, which I think best applies to a lot of situations, is finding points of connection with people where you can agree. It's about de-escalating conflict. There's always going to be conflict, but if you intentionally seek to inflame tension, then you're never going to solve anything. You have to find the points where you can come together, where you can agree. What do we agree on? You know, what can we say we definitely you know, can put to rest? I agree with you completely. And I think that there are a lot of conflicts in, you know, that, like, that Oprah interview really highlighted, like you mentioned, that it happened 10 months after George Floyd. You know, when you have like a national sort of landscape, especially like in America, of heightened tension, and somebody comes on and intentionally inflames that, and they're discussing things that are, you know, meant to be controversial, and they're meant to be points of contention. It's the question is really, you know, what is this going to do for society at large? What is this going to do for the people who are watching and listening to this? What are they going to think? What are they going to feel? How is this going to affect things? And I agree with your take that constantly focusing on the negative and the problems and the difficulties and the disagreements, all the little things, it doesn't really go towards solving issues.
I do want to ask because I think I agree with everything you said actually. I agree with Given. Do you, final question and then we'll wrap it up. Do you think this is, because I think the term anti-blackness is thrown around a lot, and it's something that I think the people that feel like this generally believe that the world feel like this about them, like the world, well, at least the Western world or the Americans feel like it's about them. Do you think that they're doing this constantly? Because let's look at like the Jewish, for example, we have what Kanye West just literally just did for, you know, in December, for example, and the response with that. Do you think that plays a part in people feeling the need to constantly bring this up over and over and over again because they feel like one group is getting more protection than another group? Like, I've always wondered if that's the conundrum that's going on here, that if it's more jealousy than actual racism occurring. Because when I look at it, I'm like, some things I'm like, let's be real, that's not what happened. Like, even right now, I saw a tweet about a school, you know, a school viewing, they were viewing a school in Carmel, Indianapolis. And the school was big, massive, but there was no black person in the film at all. There was no black person in the promo. And someone made a tweet, and I'm like, no, come on, man. Like, you gotta look at, come on. So, but anyway, what do you think of what I just, you know, like, do you think that plays a part?
Are you asking me?
Both of you, like, both of you, really.
Given?
This is what I'm gonna say, okay? Because honestly, I'm tired, and I'm weak. I'm tired because this whole thing, to me, just seems like, again, it's the paradigm of what are the outcomes you want in life, and it seems like a lot of people are really focused on being special and being treated like they're special, and sometimes that comes in the form of being a victim or feeling that they are a victim. And some people want to be or feel like the victim because it allows them special treatment. I've been through so much because of XYZ, because, the color of my skin, because of, I've got this and the other. Everybody goes through something. We all go through some shit. We all have good days, we all have bad days. If we want to progress as a society, we have to focus on the good, and the small, minute things are not going to change. You have to focus on the things that scale, fixing world hunger, not fixing, how you say things in the workplace so that I feel less bad about myself. Like it's getting ridiculous. Like there are bigger battles to be fought in the world than, how something is said to you in a certain instance. I feel like people are losing the scope of things, and they're just focused on themselves and their bubble and how they feel. They don't want to focus on the bigger picture at large. And I think that's where most people fail, or most countries who have like a very like me centric population, is you can't come together cohesively. There's always Democrats and Republicans. There is no, let's all just agree on this one topic and then try and move that forward and focus on something we all agree on.
Okay, and yourself, same thing to you. Like, based on what I said, what do you think?
I would say that I think that systemic racism exists, and I think that race-based trauma also exists. And I think that essentially there's this sort of psychological concept of projection where people they will hold in traumas, and then they won't react to the person who's causing the trauma at the time. And then later on, they will express themselves when they feel safe and able to, but they'll express it towards a person who isn't really doing the thing that caused the trauma. And so I think I think that can be a really big problem. And I think that we're at a point in time where now a lot of people are feeling safer to be able to discuss race-based trauma.
Okay.
But they're expressing it in a landscape where they're projecting a lot of anger, a lot of anger and a lot of frustration and a lot of pent up, real, true, genuine feelings that are valid and that matter. But they're expressing it towards people who didn't really cause the problem necessarily to begin with. Now, those people might be doing something wrong. They might be, making a mistake or causing a problem. They might need to learn from their behavior. But it's a disproportionate kind of response. And so I think that it matters for people to learn how to contextualize their trauma and to be able to discuss it in a way where they can talk about how they feel, but they don't have to project it at people who didn't really cause the problem.
I think that's fair.
Necessarily.
I know. I think that is
an amazing analysis.
That's a fair summarization, because I didn't consider that. I think that speaks a lot as well to what Lady Hussey happened because with the whole Lady Hussey and I forgot the sister space. That's the one. I feel like that speaks. I'm not sure if you remember. Where you from? It's like I'm from this and that, and then there was a whole sparring match just to get her to say I'm from, like this and that, I'm from the Caribbean, etc. But I think because there has been, as you said, that history actually occurring where it was actually overtly aggressive like that at one point, it's now being played out on somebody that, come on, like that doesn't deserve the scolding, if that makes sense.
I mean, we need to have those conversations. People need to be able, Black people need to be able to feel safe to talk about the race-based trauma that they have experienced.
I agree.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's part of
I want to hear that. If somebody who's Black wants to share that experience to an audience, as an audience member, I would want to hear that. I would want to understand that. I would want to be a part of understanding that so that I can be aware of what people go through in the world, because that's not my experience, obviously. I don't live that every day of my life. I like understanding what people's life experiences are like. And if somebody suffers, if somebody struggles, if somebody goes through trauma, and that is integral to their identity or their race or something, another factor that they can't control, I want to understand that as a person who can be a better member of society. I want to, I want to hear those stories. Those stories do matter. They definitely matter. I think that's absolutely right. And
I feel like what happens is that people's voices who are like marginalized come to light, but then the people who already had those voices are now pushed to the back. And that's where the problem arises. Is we need to have everybody being able to express themselves and it being okay. Because now the whole quick tangent here, the whole Andrew Tate situation, why he got so popular, is because the cis white man felt like he was at the back. You know what I mean? He felt like I am marginalized now because my feelings don't matter because I am literally at the top of the food chain apparently, and some of these guys are just working at Starbucks trying to earn a living, and their problems don't matter apparently because they're cis white man. You see what I'm saying? So we have to bring everyone forward. We can't leave people behind and say, okay, no, your problems don't matter. It's like, okay, we're hearing this person's problems now, let's hear them, but then we're gonna come to you and hear your problems too. That's what it should be. That's what should be happening. But a lot of times people want to take space and say, no, you don't matter now. This person matters now. It's like, that's how you create more resentment towards the people you're trying to help and the people you're trying to hear out.
Exactly. I agree. And the fact is that everybody is human. Everybody suffers and struggles.
Yeah.
Some struggles and some suffering, that is based in the color of somebody's skin or the position that somebody occupies in society. Personally, my platform, and my Twitter, my entire focus is that I fight against misandry. And I care about amplifying and projecting the voices of men because men do experience marginalization no matter what race you are, no matter whether you're disabled, no matter whether you're gay or not. It's men have problems systemically, especially being believed that they are victims of domestic violence, and a lot of men are actually seen as perpetrators of domestic violence instead of a lot of times men can be victimized. I think it matters that everybody is able to have a voice and that we don't shut out, or shut down people's voices just because they occupy a hegemonic category. I think everybody deserves to be heard.
I think that's a fair point, and it's funny that you brought up Andrew Tate because on the next episode we are definitely going to be talking about Andrew Tate and a lot of what you were talking about in terms of abuse and false allegations, all of those things, and false and real allegations. Not just saying false, not just saying, because that's the point of this show. We have to bring balanced perspectives to all of these things, because at the end of the day, it will be the conversations that will drive forward in the hope of change. At least I firmly believe if you can change someone's mindset and someone's outlook or perspective to life, there will be a much quicker evolution in how we change society as a whole, because it's not going to be a one-man journey, so to speak, one woman, one-man journey to course correct everything, but it will be a collective free-thinking society.
Well, that's very ambitious. I like
ambitious.
I like your goals though.
Extremely
I admire
ambitious. That. Oh gosh, am I ambitious?
I'm happy to be a part of it.
No, but to be quite fair, there's so many people that literally start from bedrooms before they become renowned speakers. Like, we're seeing it all through. Like, MLK didn't come out of nowhere. I'm not saying I'm MLK or anything like that, or Malcolm X or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they just didn't.
Brother Malcolm.
They just didn't wake up
Maybe
one day
someday.
and that was it. They just had their platform. They had a discussion that they thought, you know what, this is the vision that I would like to see. And there are some people that have, believe it or not, risen up to the heights of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, for example. But because we are in a modern context, we feel like we can't liken them to those legends. You know what I'm trying to say? So we give the legends, I hope you know what I'm trying to say. But we do have modern leaders in today's society that are changing people's minds or changing people's perspectives, and hopefully that will be either one of us, hopefully one day, because our voices are important as much as theirs. And I think if we are having these conversations regularly, it would do a lot of good. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, Miss Remington. Miss.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
No, it's so good, and thank you, Given, for being here with me. Yeah, we're not gonna get Mr. We're not gonna get him back anytime soon. But thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you on the next episode. Have a good evening. Bye.